So this is apparently San Francisco's hot girl walk that was almost entirely Asian, it seems. And this is one of the photos from it. And this just makes me wonder what kind of perspective these people have on the world. Because, I mean, it's a strange thing to say, right, we're going to go on a hot girl walk, as in, we are going to self-describe as hot. We're going to go for a walk through San Francisco, presumably in the countryside or whatever, wherever. And this is a kind of collective vanity that we're going to put on display because it invites judgment. And I can't help but want to judge this because it's very weird that these women don't see themselves as average, because I see them as average. Now, I just want to be clear. I'm not saying I am some great beauty or something. I'm not a looker. I've had to struggle with not being a looker my whole life. I would, if I had to judge myself, I'd say I'm probably a 5 out of 10, right? So I wonder why these ladies don't judge themselves at about 5 out of 10. It's not that they're unattractive. They're not unattractive, but they're not hot. They're just really normal looking. And that's fine. That's normal, actually. Most people are pretty normal looking. And if you met one and you felt an emotional connection with them, that in and of itself makes a woman more attractive looking. I guarantee it. And so you would find that woman particularly attractive. You would find her more beautiful than just looking at a photo would suggest. And things move from there. To describe themselves as hot women is just, I mean, they're just really normal. Like, they're just really normal looking women. On a somewhere between 4 and 6 maybe. They're just, and it's loads of Asians for some reason, loads of Asian women who, I can't describe just how peculiar I find this phenomenon, because it seems like a massive cope, right? It seems insane to go out of your way to describe yourself as attractive. I mean, there's the hubris of putting that on the internet. And the reason that the original post has been deleted, as you can see, this post is unavailable because it got deleted, is because, well, a lot of people saw it and were like, hang on a second, I have judgments to make about this. And I mean, that was silly, right? You knew that was coming, surely. Especially as you're not a bunch of supermodels, you're a bunch of very normal looking women who must spend your days being very normal. And so why do you think of yourselves as supermodels? Now, the answer could be something like Instagram, right? It could be makeup, it could be filters, it could be this kind of collective culture of self-confirmation or like mutual confirmation where they just say to each other, no, you're more gorgeous than Aphrodite herself. Anyone who thinks differently is crazy and mad. And it seems to, and again, this seems to be a particular San Francisco thing, that this has created a kind of collective delusion that these ladies think of themselves as like 10s, when in reality they're 5s and 6s. And so why aren't they getting the results in the dating market that they were expecting? And I say this because this video of another San Francisco located Asian woman who thinks of herself as a 9 or a 10, wondering why she can't get a man, has gone viral on Twitter. And this is, again, another fascinating thing. A woman definitely thinking that she is more attractive than she is, wondering why none of the men around her are interesting to her, and why she can't get the man that she's looking for. So we'll watch this because this is just remarkable, absolutely remarkable.
If you're a man in your 30s and you're single and you live in New York or San Francisco, please stay. Everyone else can swipe up. Great, now that I have the attention of the people that I need, I have a question for you. So we are in our 30s. See, there's a group of us. We're all single. I would say all my friends are pretty much like 9 out of 10. Great.
Right. So start with, and again, I don't want to be mean or anything. I'm not trying to be mean, but you're in your 30s. That is definitely something that counts against you when you're trying to date, especially if you're a woman, it's not the same for men. Men in their 30s have usually acquired some resources, some experience, some gravitas. Unless you're a man, unless as a man you're really hot, you really have to wait till your late 20s, early 30s before you start getting successful with women. Trust me, I know from being an average guy, and this is the experience. But also, we're all 9 out of 10s. You're not a 9 out of 10. You're not unattractive or anything. 7 maybe is a fair, I think, thing. I mean, I don't want to start critiquing the shape of her face or anything. Maybe it's the camera angle that makes her face look longer than it actually is, and her cheekbones look like higher than they actually are. But I personally really would not give this woman 9 out of 10. And so I can't help but feel that her being in San Francisco, as she says, and an Asian woman, part of this community, maybe there's a kind of collective delusion that's going around where they all just think, actually, no, we're all super hot because we're not morbidly obese or something. And it's like, okay, but you're not. You're quite average, and you're in your 30s. So please go on.
In all sorts of ways. Hot, stunning, beautiful, great personality.
Okay. You're reasonably attractive, but this kind of self-aggrandizement actually speaks to character flaws and personality flaws in people that otherwise would probably be more attractive if they were, I don't know, a little more humble, maybe a little less up their own asses about how great they are. And the thing is, you're all probably earning a fair amount of money as well, because you're probably working in, some nice office job where you're making 100K a year or whatever. And so you're also thinking, right, I've got to date upwards. I need a man who's making more money than me. I'm in my 30s, and I've had affirmative action getting me to tops of my email jobs. Why is it the only other guys who are going to be making this kind of money are kind of antisocial losers who I'm not really into? Where are the sort of, Chad men, and why aren't I dating them? It's like, well, you're not as attractive as you think. You're in your 30s, and you are clearly in some sort of tech sector because you're in San Francisco. You're in the wrong place. You're not going to meet these men. And even if you do, you might be earning like twice as much as them. As a man, I wouldn't want to date a woman who's earning twice as much as me, even if I thought she was a 9 out of 10. Even if she did have the world's greatest personality, actually, your earning capacity counts against you in how attractive men find you. I know this is wild for feminists and the sort of feminist culture of San Francisco to understand, but actually, out-earning a man is unattractive for that man. Really, you unfortunately, this is just a hard fact of life, I hate to tell you, because the kind of man that you want to attract wants to be the breadwinner. And if he's not going to be the breadwinner, well, then that changes the kind of status of the relationship.
And great jobs. But
see, great jobs. That's again, you're over 30. You've got real kind of narcissistic tendencies, it seems, and you earn loads of money. And it's like, okay, men would rather date a waitress who earned virtually nothing, but looked exactly like you and didn't go around saying, I'm super hot and great, why can't I find a man? Like, who's just normal, just a normal person, frankly, with their personality. That would be better. An unemployed woman would have more chance with the men that you're thinking of than you do. And I know that's hard to compute. But I've been told my whole life, men and women are equals. I've been told my whole life, women should be girl bosses and earn loads of money and do lots of work. And it's like, okay, but now you're in your 30s, childless and single, and no man wants to go near you. What was it all for? Did it work out as you thought? Why don't you understand what nature has intended?
Single as a Pringle. And a lot of us think that the men in New York are just exponentially better. But then on TikTok, it's like New York men are equally as bad as SF men. But here's the problem with men. They feel really one note. Everyone.
So just to be clear, I imagine loads of men in New York and probably in San Francisco, though I imagine there's a sort of selection bias in San Francisco, are just normal themselves. And if you're like, if you're a regular dude in like San Francisco or New York and you're earning like 50 or 60 grand a year, which would have been enough normally to make you look like a reasonable prospect to a normal woman who wasn't earning 3 or 4 times your wage, you doubtless would have been able to find a man, the kind of man that you're into. Because the kind of man, I've watched this already, the kind of man she talks about is the sort of tech bros, the sort of nerdy tech guys who themselves are on like $250,000 a year, but they're just like, the autistic tech guys. They're not, she's not into them. And I'm not saying she has to be into them, but like, you're choosing to work and live in a place that attracts these guys en masse, and you're wondering, okay, I've got a bunch of things in the anti column that I don't realize are in the anti column. I've got very few things in the pro column, and I'm trying to barter using those with a bunch of guys I'm not interested in. No wonder you're so single.
Everyone is a software engineer. Everyone's in tech. Everyone's like quite vanilla.
You're in San Francisco. What did you expect?
They don't really have high or any EQ.
Right, yeah, they're autistic. Right, they're guys who play map games in their spare time. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I know these are my people. I know exactly what you're talking about. You will have to settle for one at some point, and you won't be happy with it.
And like the conversations just feel like I am going to pluck my eyeballs out. It's either like these men want to get married tomorrow or like don't know how to date. And it's just like, well, where's the normal people? The normal men. So I know.
Well, weirdly, normal men aren't attracted to hyper-focused, incredibly specific, highly technical sort of programming or engineering jobs like that. Normal men are doing normal jobs, but you massively outrank them with your earning capacity, so you don't even see them. And you're looking around for essentially a unicorn. And okay, let's say you find your unicorn. I think a lot of other women are going to be looking for that unicorn as well. So how do you actually stack up? Well, if a woman's in her 20s and more attractive than you because you're not actually a 9 out of 10, I think the unicorn's going to make a different decision. It's also, she might be a little bit more humble, frankly. I mean, it wouldn't be difficult to be more humble.
I'm going to get a lot of hate in the comments, but I am curious. Are the men in New York better? Is it?
I love that it's the men that are the problem. Right. Absolutely at no point is she like, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the person who's got either misaligned expectations, an overinflated sense of self, and I have placed myself specifically in the one town on earth that massively overrepresents for schlubby autistic nerds. How is the men's fault? It's obviously your own fault here. And again, I'm sorry, you're not 9 out of 10s. I don't know why you think you're 9 out of 10s.
Is true? And if so, what are the pros and cons of dating in either of the cities? It's just been unsuccessful, for lack of better words. It's been a minus out here. And as someone who's lived in many cities, I lived in Boston, Chicago, Kansas City, LA, I feel like there should be like the biggest, highest percentage of success in SF.
Why? What are you looking for? You've gone to the place that overly selects for a certain kind of man, and you could find a different kind of man in different cities, but you don't want to give up your great job. Your great job is, again, doubtless some sort of email job, arranging things, and you get paid an extortionate amount for this, and a normal guy can't really compete. So if you want a normal guy, you have to accept a massive pay cut, basically. You have to move to somewhere else in the country, and you, as a 7 out of 10, will find a normal guy who's like, oh, she's attractive, and as long as you don't sit there puffing yourself up all night talking to him, you will be able to get a normal guy. It's just the current position you're in, and the clock is ticking for you. You've not got any real avenues for success, and it seems already that you've basically explored them all. So you have to make a drastic change and accept a very different kind of lifestyle if you're going to get the thing that ultimately you're looking for. And that's not easy. That's a difficult thing to accept. And you might be very confused as to why that's the case, but I'm actually really quite sure this is the only way you're going to get what you want.